Darth Vader is a name that echoes terror across the galaxy. His infamy wasn't built solely on the battlefield, it was forged through systematic atrocities that shattered lives and instilled fear. As the enforcer of the Emperor's will, Vader did more than carry out orders. He shaped the very nature of the Empire through acts of calculated brutality. But his atrocities were not mindless, they served a greater purpose: to maintain control in a galaxy gripped by chaos. When the Republic fell and the Empire rose, many believed the new order would bring peace. Instead, it brought tyranny. And Vader stood at the heart of this transformation. From the poisoned fields of Onager to the smoldering ruins of Faline, his actions were not just executions of Imperial policy, they were the foundation of the Empire's rule. To understand the depths of Darth Vader's legacy, we must explore the horrors he inflicted and the scars he left on the galaxy. Imagine living in fear of a shadowy figure who could annihilate an entire planet with a single command. For the average citizen of the Empire, this was not a nightmare, it was reality. After Anakin Skywalker's fall to the dark side, Vader became a man defined not by his past, but by his pain. His transformation into Darth Vader wasn't merely a title change, it was a complete severing from the man he once was. Every day, Vader buried what remained of Anakin, pushing himself further into the dark side. But this transformation came with its own limitations. Vader's reliance on his artificial limbs and the life support systems of his suit marked him as a figure of immense power, but also one of physical weakness. Unlike other Sith, Vader could not conjure Force lightning. Worse, his cybernetics left him vulnerable to the lightning wielded by others. These limitations were a constant reminder of his inferiority. Palpatine capitalized on these vulnerabilities, ensuring Vader always knew his place. Their exchanges often revolved around one question: "Are you afraid of death, Lord Vader?" The Emperor's taunts were as much psychological chains as they were tests of loyalty. Each time Vader answered no, master, he reinforced his role as Palpatine's servant. Despite his growing mastery of the Force and his dark side studies, Vader never escaped these reminders. Palpatine ensured that the Apprentice's place would forever be beneath the Master. This dynamic didn't just define their relationship, it mirrored the power structure of the Empire itself, a regime where control and fear ensured absolute obedience. Vader's quest for power was both his strength and his torment. He sought to surpass his master but was trapped in a cycle of dependency. His pain fueled his strength, yet it also tethered him to Palpatine, ensuring the atrocities he committed were not only acts of terror, but also acts of servitude. Before Vader arrived, Onager was a verdant world inhabited by the Nogri, a proud warrior species with a deep connection to their land. Their lives revolved around honor and loyalty, values that Vader would soon exploit. The poisoning of Onager was no accident. It was a calculated move by the Empire to cripple the planet's ecosystem. The toxins rendered the soil infertile, plunging the Nogri into desperation. Enter Darth Vader, the supposed savior. He arrived with promises of aid and solutions to their plight. In exchange, the Nogri swore loyalty to him, becoming his deadly assassins. For decades, the Nogri served Vader with unwavering devotion, unaware that he was the architect of their suffering. This act was more than an atrocity, it was a masterstroke of manipulation. By turning tragedy into control, Vader demonstrated his ability to weaponize desperation. The poisoning of Onager ensured that the Nogri became tools of the Empire, but it also left a lasting scar. Years later, the Nogri would uncover the truth and turn against the Empire, proving that even the most loyal servants could be pushed to rebellion. When an Imperial research station on Faline accidentally released a lethal bioagent, the stakes were high. The Empire's policy of secrecy demanded swift action. Darth Vader, ever the Emperor's enforcer, ordered an orbital bombardment of the planet. Over 200,000 Faline lives were extinguished in moments, their cities reduced to ash. For Vader, this was not a decision made lightly, it was a necessity. The bioagent threatened to expose the Empire's experiments, and failure to act could have jeopardized Imperial control. Yet the massacre revealed a cold truth about Vader and the Empire. Life was expendable, and secrecy was paramount. Imagine being a Faline citizen, watching as the sky turned to fire. For the survivors, the bombardment was a grim reminder of the Empire's power and its willingness to sacrifice entire populations for its agenda. This atrocity solidified Vader's reputation as a ruthless enforcer, but it also sowed seeds of dissent. The Faline, like many others, would not forget the horrors inflicted upon them. The Death Star was the Empire's ultimate weapon, a moon-sized battle station capable of destroying entire planets. While Grand Moff Tarkin oversaw the doctrine of rule by fear, it was Vader who ensured its construction proceeded without delay. From the earliest designs on Geonosis to the final stages of assembly, Vader's presence loomed over the project. The Death Star was more than a weapon, it was a symbol of the Empire's philosophy. By wielding the power to annihilate planets, the Empire sought to crush rebellion before it could take root. Yet the Rebel Alliance's defiance proved that even the greatest weapon could not extinguish hope. The Death Star's destruction at Yavin marked a turning point in the Galactic Civil War, but it also marked a failure for Vader. Despite his efforts, the rebellion persisted, fueled by the atrocities committed in the name of Imperial rule. Darth Vader was more than a man, he was a myth. Across the galaxy, stories of his deeds spread like wildfire. Some believed he was a droid built to enforce the Emperor's will. Others whispered that he was a former gladiator or bounty hunter, a being of pure malice. These rumors only amplified his terror, making him an unstoppable force in the eyes of the galaxy. The mystique surrounding Vader was no accident. Palpatine encouraged these tales, knowing that fear was a powerful weapon. Every whispered story of Vader's wrath reinforced the Empire's dominance. Even the mere presence of his black-clad figure was enough to silence dissent. Consider the perspective of a rebel operative hearing of Vader's approach. The fear he inspired often worked as effectively as the actions he carried out. In many ways, the myth of Vader was as devastating as the reality. Despite his power, Vader was never truly free. Palpatine kept him on a short leash, using constant reminders of his limitations to ensure his loyalty. The Emperor's taunting questions, "Are you afraid of death, Lord Vader?" were not just rhetorical. They were designed to keep Vader subservient. Vader's inability to wield Force lightning or surpass Palpatine in strength created a deep sense of inadequacy, yet his desire for power kept him bound to the Emperor. This toxic dynamic mirrored the Empire itself, a regime built on control and fear, where individuality was crushed under the weight of conformity. The atrocities committed by Vader left deep scars on the galaxy. Onager, Faline, and countless other worlds bore the weight of his tyranny. But these scars were not just reminders of his cruelty, they were the seeds of rebellion. The Nagri, once loyal assassins, would eventually betray Vader. The survivors of Faline became symbols of resistance. Across the galaxy, tales of Imperial brutality fueled the Rebel Alliance, turning scattered cells into a united front. Vader's actions strengthened the Empire temporarily, but they also created the conditions for its downfall. In the end, the very atrocities that defined Vader's legacy also ensured the Empire's failure. The galaxy could not endure the weight of his terror forever. Vader's legacy is a cautionary tale about the corrupting nature of power. While he succeeded in spreading fear, he failed to extinguish hope. And in the end, it was hope, not fear, that would shape the galaxy's future. What do you think? Were Vader's atrocities acts of loyalty or reflections of his inner torment? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this exploration into Darth Vader's darkest deeds, make sure to subscribe for more deep dives into Star Wars lore. Thank you so much for watching, and may the dark side be with you.